I don't usually use templates for these presentations. I find them distracting and I don't think they add anything useful. I think they're a novelty. But this one, I think, represents the mess that can be memoir. Memoir is, to me, the most natural and at the same time the most unnatural way to write. It is taking something you own, a memory, and remembering it and revising it and editing it until you don't love it quite the same way that you did, and then you give it away to somebody else. It's a wonderful art, maybe my favorite, but it hurts at least a little bit if it's done correctly, sometimes a lot. With that prelude or warning, let's dive in and look at memoir. Memoir is an essay that records a memory or sometimes a group of memories. It's narrative, and it's always inexact. We don't remember perfectly, so it's important to remember when reading or writing memoir that you're working with the event as it is remembered, not as it happened. That said, there is a reasonable assumption of good intentions with the truth. Try to capture the memory as it is, not as you'd like it to be. This doesn't mean you can't take artistic license with some of the details. It's up to you to decide where the boundary is on this. Different writers always arrive at different conclusions, but honesty is the standard, and people aren't happy if they discover they've been outright lied to. Memory isn't perfect, so like the frog DNA that filled the gaps in dino DNA in Jurassic Park, you may have to fill in a few details. It can help to look at old photos from around the time or to do some memory exercises, trying to remember specific sights and smells, but I'd discourage you from asking someone for their version of the memory. This is your memoir, not theirs. Ultimately, just control the tone. If you aren't sure of something, you can always write "it was as if" or "it seemed like." You can work with maybes and could-haves, which allows you to be more creative. Remember that you're telling a story. If you've ever known a great storyteller, or maybe if you are one, you know that it isn't the story that makes something interesting, it's how it's told. This will sound more casual and personal than standard essay writing, so let loose and tell the story how you want to tell it. Use your natural voice, which you might find helps you write academic essays too. In memoir, unlike in academic essays, some distractions can be welcome. Some details that aren't directly or obviously relevant may be absolutely delightful or might come back unexpectedly later on. If you haven't yet, go watch the War Stories memoir on YouTube, or watch it again to refresh your memory. Ask yourself these questions, and then come up with a few of your own. Here is my main question. I know this is a memoir. It's a specific memory, and it feels like memoir. But what is the story actually about? Is it about the soldiers' things getting dumped on the ground, or is it about the first time you saw Germans, or is it about something else? I'm not sure, and that's okay. Memoir doesn't have to be as clear or direct as a standard academic essay, but I do feel like I understand the war a little bit better now. I'm not sure if we can even call our second example, David Sedaris' 6 to 8 Black Men, a memoir. How much has to be true to be considered a memoir? Sedaris is often called an essayist or a memoir writer, and while something can be both, the terms can also be exclusive. I think this qualifies, as he's documenting his thoughts with added historical annotations, that he had during a specific memory or event. One could also guess that this might be multiple memories masquerading as one. If that seems dishonest to you, I have bad news. Henry David Thoreau spent 2 years at Walden Pond, not one like he said he did. And it's not too likely that he actually left and came back on the 4th of July either. Artistic license or a lie? Frankly, I'm not sure. The Father's Day memoir is more than just text read aloud. It has images, sound effects, and a changing dynamic soundtrack. This might be a useful thing for you to do as well, to think about what the soundtrack to your memoir might be. That can help you identify the mood you're after in a particular scene. When you write your memoir, it's good to sample others' work to learn, but this is your memory, so make it your memoir too. While that might seem like throwaway reflection work, you'll need to revise your memoir in the exact same way you revise your academic essays, following the writing process. This is just as much, if not more, work than a researched essay. Good writing takes time and is hard work. If it's easy, you probably need to revise it or even rewrite it. Once you've got something on paper, walk away from it and give yourself some time to forget it before you dive back in to revise. Remember, you're trying to capture a memory on the page, not just so that it feels right to you, the person who lived it, but so that it feels right to someone else too.